Hi, my name is Stephanie Mercedes Leiva. My preferred pronouns are she, her, hers. I identify as a Latina woman, specifically Cuban American. My family is from Cuba. My dad is a Cuban Taino, which means his side is indigenous to the Caribbean. And my mom's side is also from Cuba, but they have Spanish ancestors. I speak English, Spanglish, and conversational Spanish. This is what looking bilingüe means to me.
So what does being Latina mean when we think of Stephanie Leiva?
Being Latina to me is all about culture and ancestry. To me, it's the rice and beans I eat almost daily. It's the coffee. It's more than just the language we speak.
So you've described speaking the culture, which I loved. Can you tell us more about what that means?
We don't know Spanish. My parents wanted me to learn English first, so I wasn't put into ESL classes. I know the basics of Spanish. I can ask directions, I can order food, I can hold a conversation, but I have many skill gaps and I switch up the tenses like yo quiero, tú quieres, tengo, tienes. I don't know the difference of them. And I also, when I'm speaking Spanish or when I'm in a conversation, I end up translating things back and forth constantly in my head. I can't listen and understand it simultaneously. I feel like being Latin is more than just the language, it's culture. And I try my best to speak my culture in other ways. I speak my culture in my fashion, in the way I walk into a room, into being an advocate for my family. I'm sorry that my Spanish isn't the best, but that doesn't make me not Latina.
I often hear from a lot of people that I've been interviewing, you purposely didn't teach me this language as extensively as you're expecting me to speak it now. So is language a part of culture or culture a part of language for you?
I think language is a part of the culture. It's one piece of it. But how many people can speak Spanish but don't have my culture? Everybody learns Spanish. Everybody has Duolingo. I have Duolingo. I'm working on it.
And talk to us about how your identity impacts you as an actor.
Being white passing is a privilege, especially in the arts. That's just the ugly truth. Actors in general, we think to ourselves, what roles am I best suited for? Am I just being cast because I'm white passing? And racism is true in theater as well. We know that the majority of people who are cast are going to be white. According to the study done by the Asian American Performers Action Coalition, 35% of all roles on New York City stages went to minority actors in the 2015-2016 season. Just 35%.
Yeah.
That means they only have 35% of all actors and all characters of minorities. Where do I fall into this? Am I in the 35% because I technically am a minority, I'm descendants of Cubans, or do I fall into the 65% because I am white passing and I am opened up to these roles because of how I look? Is it right for me to play a Latino character, or should other people who look the part or will represent the part more be given that opportunity? Should I not be given that opportunity? I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, and what is it to represent that role? What is that really when we say that? Does that mean that the person has to look a specific way, or is it about the experience? And you and I have both been through acting classes. Is it just that innate experience that you kind of bring into the role that gets you that final product, or is it just a look?
It depends on the story, but sometimes looks is most important. It depends on the story that we're telling.
Mm-hmm.
If it's Shakespeare, it doesn't matter who looks like what, but in the Heights, for example, you need people to look the part, to play the part, because it's important to the role. And I don't know if I want to be that person. I hope that I'm that person, but I understand that sometimes there is someone else who needs to represent my community a little bit more, who looks more like the people who aren't just white passing. There's a lot of white passing Hispanics and Latinos online.
Yeah, and actually it makes me think that a lot of people don't know that you're Latina. My grandmother's blonde, hazel-eyed, super fair skin, and people don't know. So it also makes me wonder, is it up to us as Latinos to say, hey, we are actually all colors of the rainbow, and you should know that. When do we start showing that on screen? I want you to fill in the blank as different members of your family, or one member of your family, whoever it is that inspires you. The two prompts are: one, to be Cuban is to be, and two, to be Cuban is not to be.
My grandmother would say, like, you gotta do the face. You gotta start with the face, right? Okay, listen. To be Cuban is to be, tú sabes, todo latino, ¿ok? Arroz y frijoles. Y si no quiere carne, ok, come maduros. You wear a red bracelet con el Leiva para protección, ok? Y you don't leave the house until you married. Pero también, yo quiero 10 great grandbabies. Okay? Pero Stephanie, tú sabes, how old are you? 23? I had your mom when I was, tú sabes. It's equally, you must have children and you must never have a boyfriend. And I don't know how you want me to meet both goals. It's sticking.
Speaking of, I had my bustero this morning. I have a new cafetera because, as is traditional, I melted my other one. Why does that happen?
How'd you melt it? The handle?
I thought I put the water in on the bottom.
Oh,
the handle melted off, which, by the way, I've seen my grandmother do just because this thing was like tired, but then she is like, oh, okay, it doesn't have the handle now, and she just picks it up like this.
So I don't know if you know this, but I'm moving, and as I'm packing right now, my mom and I like went through the house and like, what are you gonna take, you know? And I am taking our cafetera that was my grandmother's, and I still use it to this day.
Yeah.
It is creaky when you open it, but it makes the best coffee.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's unfortunate to say, but some of my elders would say to be Cuban is not to be a vegetarian. Yeah, being a vegetarian is a big one in my family. Listen, it is such a big deal to some people that I don't eat meat, and somehow that's equivocated with being less Latinx.
Yeah,
it's a topic of conversation at every holiday dinner. Wait, let me get a side of rice and beans and maduros, because I'm still eating Latin food, which is what I love. It just doesn't have to be meat. You can be Latinx and a vegetarian. It is possible. And if you don't want to be, that's fine. Just know that it's okay and it's an option.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, if I'm completely honest, I am not vegetarian, but if you're not eating meat, more pernil for me. Like, what? One less person I have to fight with, like, you know, like, seriously. I'm like, hey, just eat meat. Fantastic.
Live your life. Like, oh, you don't want my rice? It's no good for you? It's no good for you? Vegetariano? Or my dad would call me a Sagittarius.
A Sagittarius?
I don't know why.
How that challenges their perception of what Latino is. So yeah, so I can imagine that's a lot of like middle grounds that you're kind of dealing with on a constant basis, just being who you are, which is what you should be. You are one of the most effective and the most real mentors that I've seen. If you have a student who's struggling with their identity, that struggle with themselves and their relationship with their language from their culture, give them guidance.
The first piece of advice is embrace who you are, even when the outside voices are telling you that you're not. Latinxes like me come in all colors. We're white, we're black, we're Tainos. Our young generation, aside from our race and culture, is embarking on uncharted territories of what it means to be millennial or Gen Z and your identity in America. It's different than you being your identity and your culture back in your home country. And it's okay if you can't speak Spanish, because being Latinx is more than that. It's about culture, it's about ancestry, it's about the food you eat and what you wear and how you feel about it. And also screw what others have to say. If you know who you are, embrace that and wear that flag proudly.
There's so many expectations from both sides. I always talk about that scene in Alina when her and the dad and the brother are talking about their Mexicanness and how, and the dad says, you're not Mexican enough for the Mexicans and you're not American enough for the Americans. And I remember being like little and being like I related to that. And I was really young when that movie came out. And I think that's our reality, isn't it? As the either first gen or first and a half or second gen, like that are very connected to like our family that have come over.
Yeah, it's the phrase is no soy de aquí ni soy de allá. I'm not from here, but I'm also not from there. I sometimes feel that I am not fully embraced in the Latinx community, even though I fully embrace it. And I also am not just American. I'm not just white. I can never be. When I go home at the end of the day to my family, I feel Latina. Children of immigrants, children of Latin countries, we're a different breed.
We are. Yes, we are. And I think that's awesome that, you know, that mix is what makes it so special and really gives us like, you know, an eye into the old world and an eye into the new world. And we can kind of look at these things in this perspective and really like be those connectors and unite these two entities. And I think that's a really important, you know, position.
My mom's side and my dad's side both came to America for a better life. You know, they came for these things, for, you know, the American dream, freedom of speech, work, you know. I am succeeding in this new country just like my elders came here for. This is what they wanted from their family. I make my family proud.